Okay, greetings and salutations, everybody. JV Wins Dogon SS. Welcome to another edition of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. Appreciate you for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're so inclined. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video. We certainly appreciate the support as we continue to kick around our brand of logical content here in our little corner of the internet. So, thanks so much to everybody who's been joining us along for the ride. It's been a lot of fun. We got a great set of topics to talk about here tonight, so looking forward to it. And we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. We're going to talk first about Andre 3 Stacks. Andre 3000 is making a lot of waves right now because he recently released an album that is nothing but him playing wind instruments. So the entire album is like an instrumental. He's not rapping, he ain't laying lyrics over anything. It's just him playing wind instruments. And so everybody has, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have their own opinions on it. You can read any review of it. You can go to any one of the, hip hop / music websites to get a better handle on what it's all about. Read some of these reviews, but a lot of people are talking about it because it is a departure from Andre 3000 as a rapper. And in conjunction with him releasing this body of work, he did an interview with GQ, one of the rare instances in which Andre 3000 actually does like a public speaking type situation. And he touched on a range of topics during his GQ interview. But one of the things that we thought was the most revealing or interesting about that interview was when he talked about how for him, he doesn't have the same juice when it comes to rapping. As a matter of fact, the word that he used was inauthentic. He said that these days for him, he feels inauthentic when it comes to rapping. And so a lot of people have shared their thoughts on this tidbit of insight coming from Andre 3000, and we are no exception to that. So we'll go ahead and play a bit of sound from that snippet in which he talks about this via this GQ interview, and then we will give our thoughts on what he had to say afterwards.
Instruments. There was a certain point where I just didn't know where else to go. I didn't like, even now, like people think, oh man, he's just sitting on raps, or like he's just holding these raps hostage. Like, I ain't got no raps like that. Like it actually feels, sometimes it feels inauthentic for me to rap because I don't have anything to talk about in that way. Like, I'm 48 years old, and not to say that age is a thing that dictates what you rap about, but in a way it does. And like things that happen in my life, like what do you talk, like I gotta go get a colonoscopy, like what do you what do you rap about? You know what I mean? Like my eyesight is going bad. Like,
but you're not just any rapper. Like, you're a top 5, to many people. To me, it's like you're basically being like, I have a very beautiful sports car in the garage, but I choose never to drive it, which is your talent.
Talent is one thing, but honestly, I think timing and momentum is more important than talent and the energy of it. Like talent, it's a lot of people with talent. And we're seeing that now. Like, there's so many dope people on the internet like that are just raw, but it's your timing, is what you're talking about, is if you're catching the zeitgeist of what's happening in the world. And like, my goal is I want to connect. I'm not talking about nothing that I can't connect with in it.
Have you tried?
It's no use. Yeah, I try all the time. Like, I'm open to producers now, like the young producers, and I get beats all the time. Like, and people send me songs like to get on remixes and stuff like that, but I don't be knowing what to talk about most of the time,
Do you think that's about expectations or lack of self-belief? Like, where do you think that comes from?
Like, I think you're your best and worst critic, and I only work on feeling. Feeling is my only barometer of what I'm doing. Like, I don't feel like I'm the best rapper. I don't feel like I'm the best producer. I don't feel like I'm the best singer, actor, none of that. It's just, for me, my gauge is feeling. And that's always been that way, even within Outkast. Like, if it felt right, I ain't care what other people thought. If it felt right, it was like, I ain't gonna argue with what it feel like. And if it don't feel right to me, which it hasn't in a while, like when it comes to rapping or vocal, type of music, I don't do it.
All right, so there you go. Pretty interesting stuff there, man. Yeah, he said that it feels inauthentic these days for him to rap. Uh, what did you make of those comments there? I thought that was pretty interesting.
I could pretty much identify, exactly where he's coming from with all of that. Because we spoke before about, ageism and rap and stuff like that. And, you know, what is there to talk about age appropriate music and stuff like that? And, Andre's never been really much of a flex rapper. He'll throw a bar in here or there, but that's not his MO. So he, as he mentioned, generally talks about whatever's going on or however, he could impact, um, people's mood. That's what I pretty much always gathered from his music. And uh, times have really changed over the last decade or so. And for him to bless us, I'm going to use that word, with acoustic sounds and serene types of melodies, I was excited once I heard, because I heard about all of this, last week or so. I was like, oh, Andre 3000. Oh, snap. He's not rapping. Yes. And that's not because, yeah, and that's not because I'm not an Andre 3000 fan. It's because I personally think he gets it. And what I mean by that, um, I had challenged the viewers here about a month or so back, challenging them to not listen to whatever music they generally listen to and just try listening to, classical music, just so you could feel the difference in your thought processes, how you go about your day. You reclaim a lot of yourself. It's amazing. He's doing the same thing here. And the message that I'm receiving from, because I listened to it, the messages that I was receiving was, hey man, chill out. I'm used to, heavy 808s, loud bass, going crazy. That's my um what's the word I want to use? Dopamine of choice. Whenever I am listening to, music. So when contrasting that to, oh snap, let me listen to Andre's album, and I'm waiting for the boom boom boom, whoop de whoop, and it's not coming. And from there, you gotta relax, chill out. It feels like you're in a damn spa. And I'm with that 1000%. And with that, you can reclaim some thinking, calm yourself down, because those heavy 808s and those frequencies that are coming through are pretty amped. It'd be interesting if there is some type of study out there for the types of uh, instrumentals being played versus levels of anxiety. Because when I was sitting there waiting for the 808s to come in, I was anxious. And then, like I said, the music told me to chill out. So from going from one extreme to the next, I could feel why he made this music. Our community needs it. And from a pioneer, member of the Mount Rushmore, however you want to categorize him, to actually sit here and make a classical music type of thing for all ears to hear, because there's people that would never had listened to wind instruments, period, unless it was covered or, or underneath some 808s. So for
With
him
some
to
bars,
actually,
yeah.
yeah, so for him to actually to do this, it's low key forcing the community to partake in it. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more people walking away feeling surprised, relieved, and honestly refreshed from listening to such a conceptual album, if you will. The titles of them are amazing. Just even the titles of the songs just it's out the box. It's 1000% him. All right, or should I say 3000? So I've got more to say, man. But what are your thoughts on the new Three Stacks album?
I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, so I'll sort of reserve my comments on the album in and of itself until I've listened to it a little more. But I think I know what he was trying to say without actually saying it. And shouts out to my little sister. She and I were actually talking about this very thing last week before we decided to do this as a topic. Andre 3000 is considered to be an all-time great rapper. There are certain people within the rap/hip hop community who hold him in such high regard that they believe that he's like top 5 all time. Obviously, whatever that means, because that's completely subjective. Like, whatever your list is, like, people throw that term around a lot, referring to him top 5 all time, top 10. I've never really gone that far because, in my personal opinion, I don't know that you can be up there that high strictly off of features and guest appearances on songs. Like, I don't want to take anything away from him because Outkast obviously is legendary, and Speaker Box Love Below was legendary. But after that, as a hip hop artist, it's just been features. And for me personally, I can't say that you're one of the greatest of all time strictly off of the strength of features. Now, having said that, he's a phenomenal rapper, and I would never take anything away from him. I hold his skill and ability and his sensibilities when it comes to music in the highest of regards. And because I hold his skills and sensibilities in the highest of regards, I find it difficult to believe that he truly in his heart feels as though he has nothing to talk about. I think that he is talented enough and he's gifted enough as a lyricist, as a rapper, that if he wanted to make a rap album today, right now, he could. However, I think what I think he's trying to say with these comments, but he's coding it so that he doesn't alienate too many people. I think what he's trying to say is the common themes that are inherent largely in the music today are themes that he personally cannot lend his voice to.
Right.
Like, I think that he is his own person. He thinks for himself. He's not a group thinker. He's not a conformist. I think the majority of hip hop is conformity and group thinking. And the majority of the music largely sounds the same from a commercial standpoint. I mean, if you're, like I said before, I think if you're a hardcore fan, you know to dig into the crates. You can you can look out on the calendars. You can go to certain websites. You know when certain people who you like are going to put out something new. Like, I was talking to my one of my boys in the gym the other day. He likes Alchemist. Alchemist recently put out an album. It was like 7 songs. You have to dig in the crates for that. Spotify isn't just going to serve Alchemist up to you. The radio stations, the podcasts, these shows, they are not going to serve Alchemist up to you. So you got to be a hardcore fan. You got to dig in the crates for that. An example that I like to use is Big Crit. I am a huge Big Crit fan. The algorithm is not going to serve Big Crit up to you unless you are on your Spotify or your Apple Music or wherever you get your music and you're always listening to Big Crit, then it'll serve it up to you. But just generally speaking, as a fan of hip hop, if your service provider knows you like hip hop, the first thing it's going to give to you is not Alchemist and it's not Big Crit. It's going to be a whole lot of Lil Babies, a whole lot of Drakes, a whole lot of Rick Ross, Meek Mill, a whole lot of that stuff, a whole lot of YGs. That's what they're going to give you if it knows you like hip hop music. And the commonalities inherent in a lot of these people's music sounds the same. It's a lot of the street stuff, a lot of the drug and gun stuff, a lot of the I'll smash your chick stuff, a lot of the I'm better than you and I'm superior to you because I have more money than you stuff. That's what a lot of it sounds like. And so I think for Andre 3000, someone who's not a conformist, someone who thinks for himself, a guy who's not a group thinker, he said in that clip, he does things off of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he's saying when he says, I have nothing to say, what he's really saying is, I cannot, my soul will always prohibit me from conforming to the type of music that is largely served up to the community who likes this genre of music. I can't make music like that. That's not where my headspace is. And for the record, it never was in that space. Even when he was in his earliest days with Outkast, he didn't make stuff like that. So he's been consistent in that regard. And I think at this point, he's saying that without actually saying it. Because, obviously, if he goes on to an interview and leans in on the current state of rap and hip hop from a commercial standpoint, from a popularity standpoint, he's probably going to alienate a lot of people who are going to have issues with his opinion, even though it shouldn't be that way because it's just his opinion. We know how this internet thing works. We know how troll world works. People are going to have an issue with his opinion. You're going to have a lot of these rappers coming out of the woodwork who want to attack him for his opinion because that's just how this stuff is now. So he said it in the most delicate way that he knew how to say it, which is, I feel as though I have nothing to say. But really, I think he does have things to say. He just feels as though there's really no place for it in popular mainstream rap nowadays, because when it comes to popular mainstream rap, you have to conform to the common themes that are inherent in the music, which is everything that I just mentioned. And if you exist outside of that, you basically have to relegate yourself to being an indie artist who is only going to galvanize a loyal, hardcore fan base. And some might argue that that's always been the case, or that that's just the way things are. I would suggest that it has become even more pronounced today than it ever was before. It's a greater epidemic we are seeing now, where if you aren't on that ignorant stuff, you have to be tucked away in the corner on that indie stuff and just live and essentially eat off of your very small, minuscule, hardcore fan base. And I think for a guy like him, he's saying, well, I don't have to play in that sandbox if I don't want to. I'm not going to give you those raps if I don't want to. So I play instruments. I'm multi-talented. I'm going to give you my wind instrument album. And if you can accept it, great. And if not, move on and listen to everything else that you want to listen to. It's okay. But I think for him, really what he's saying is, there's no place for me in the current state of rap. And to me, that's sad and unfortunate. But I understand where he's coming from, if that is what he's trying to say. And I think that that's what he's trying to say. Clearly, age is not a barometer on one's effectiveness when it comes to rap. You just have to figure out your way of doing things. And I mentioned Nas a lot because, in my opinion, Nas has done it at the highest level in terms of being somebody who's almost 50 and can still make music that sounds good, that doesn't conform. He can make music that enriches his own soul, and he doesn't feel the need to placate to the generalized hip hop commercialized fan base. And he can just do what he wants and put his albums out, and let the chips fall where they may. And Nas isn't the only one, but to me, he's the one who does it the most effectively. So there's a blueprint for it, and it can be done. But I think for Andre 3000, he's saying, I don't really care too much to dive into this, even though I could do it. I'm just going to do things that enrich me personally. And anyone who's on board with it, come aboard. And if you don't like it, so be it. But I'm going to stick to my wind instruments, and it is what it is. Everything else can fall by the wayside.
Yeah, I agree with that. You articulated that well, because I was trying to get there, but yeah, you said that, because especially the part where, when it comes to the rap game being what it is now, like him dropping a masterpiece lyrically, it, like you said, it would alienate. It would honestly just find its own little niche in the corner, which most likely this is going to do. However, this, for even people that's not even going to listen to this is making headlines. If Andre 3000 came out with a rap album, people will go, oh, Andre 3000 came out with a rap album. They'll probably whatever get alienated and then go, okay, rap is rap. Our old rappers are old rappers next.
Yeah.
For him to make this step in this direction, it literally changes the trajectory of hip hop, in the sense that what he's doing is literally trailblazing for other people to take another route. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. And by the way, lyrics are limited. He could have said a whole bunch of words that was well put together, pristine. It still wouldn't hit you as hard as the wind instruments. Just straight up frequencies, like what he's playing, versus words, the frequencies are going to control your mood a lot harder. And it's going to do exactly what he intended, was for you to think. You're not going to think listening to his words. He's going to say some parables, some things like that that's pretty fire, some one-liners or whatever that really get your motor going, which is cool. But that's the direction that he was telling you. When there's just instrumentals playing and there's just soft, soothing music going on in the background, I mean, you can hear your mind go in a good way of, man, what's going on? Hey, hey, man, I should pay that bill. I'm a little late on that. Hey, well, hey, what you reclaim yourself when these things are going on. So I really love this from the standpoint of that it's frequency music. And the way that the world is going right now, that in order for something to be on the radio, it has to be a certain amount of beats per minute. In order for something to be on TV, there's certain frequencies that's coming through the TV. And there are studies that's done on this, that it puts you in a delta state, a state of just openness and receivingness, not thinking, not being constructive. You're literally being hypnotized. So for him to play a different frequency, for him to play something else, go off the reservation, if you will, it gets people out of that delta state of tunnel vision into, oh my God, there's a whole garden back here. It's imagine if you just limit it into some, 8x8 backyard where there's a big ass fence. And that's regular music. That's whatever everybody listens to the radio. If you watch music videos, it's in that little space. But then there's a whole world outside of there where there's no verbal communication. It's just music. And then once you step outside of that gate and realize it's an entire field of acres, you go, man, I was living in that little box this whole time. Then when you go back and listen to your classics, your favorites or whatever, and then listen to the commands, listen to how they're telling you to think, how to spend your money, how to handle your relationships, listen to all these commands. And then you can see how you're fitting in other people's boxes. This one's more like an open situation, an open format where you can populate this area with your own thoughts. And since the frequencies are so chill, it puts you in a chill mind state. So you're having more chill thoughts. The more aggressive the music, the more aggressive one's thought pattern may tend to be. So for him to play you mentioned The Alchemist earlier, for him to be doing musical alchemy to transmute people's thought process is brilliant. And so he may act like, like you said, being coy, I'm just, you being real selective with his words. This is a person that has a mission, in my opinion, and he's trying to lay gospel, if you will, for future generations. Because when he's passed away and gone, he's got a healthy body of lyrics that people can listen to. And then if he transitions into this, then he's also have more calm, soothing things that the community needs. And once, our community adopts it, not everybody, but once our community adopts it, it is a good enough splash of good energy to help permeate for future generations. So me personally, I appreciate this body of work. I'm not a wind instrument person, to be honest, but listening to this, I'm getting into it because I'm telling you right now, once my mood immediately changed. It took like 2 minutes, and then I started thinking like, hey, whoa, I gotta pump the brakes. I gotta calm the hell down. Brilliant. So for all the people, and there were naysayers, couldn't believe it. This was before the album even came out. But people on social medias, they can't wait to hit record on certain things. And as soon as they heard that he's not rapping, what? We don't want to hear that. They start playing Bombs Over Baghdad and other things that he did. This is the Andre we want. No, we want the evolved Andre. We want the evolved type of music. And this, in my opinion, is evolved, is brave, and he's taking a step out there. Can't commend him enough. So one of my spirit animals in the world, Andre 3000, doing a heck of a job trying to change the trajectory of the frequencies that our people listen to. I'm all on top of that. I love it.
Well, if you would have put out a rap album, see, I mean, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't with a rap album, because
Mhm.
all people are going to do is bitch and complain about how it's not a classic, because
Right.
they've been waiting so long for him to put out a rap album
Exactly.
and anticipating this classic body of work. And if anything falls short of that, they're going to complain about that too. So either
Yep.
way, those people are going to complain.
Yep.
That's why they ought not to be listened to.
Yep.
Dr. Dre is kind of in the same boat. That's why he gave up on ever releasing a detox album, because he knows there's no point. If I put it out, people are going to think it's not as good as it should have been,
Yes.
because of how long it took and my name and my cachet. So best
Yes.
to just let it go and don't even put it out. You're better served by not releasing it and
Yep.
just have people wondering what could have been.
Yep.
So he's 100% well within his right to not release that, because people are going to be dissatisfied with the result no matter what.
Mhm.
I just hope that people are receptive to it, because one thing about him, he has built up his genius cachet where he can do certain things and people are going to give it a chance because of who he is. And
Mhm.
people kind of perceive that because he has done it, it must be good or insightful in some kind of way because his name is attached to it. He's sort of built up that kind of cachet. And it's largely earned. Another guy who's built up cachet like that is Kendrick. Kendrick can
Mhm.
put out Kendrick can literally put out bad music, but because it's him, there has to be some level of genius attached to it. And
Mhm.
maybe we just don't get it. And so
Mhm.
maybe we need to listen harder because it's him and he's a genius.
Mhm.
Like Three Stacks kind of has that same level of cachet. And so hopefully that cachet builds up enough equity with him that it gets more people receptive to it and listening to it than not. Because we can have all of these side conversations about the music and all of that kind of stuff all we want, but at the end of the day, you're not going to smoke me out of my hole on this community with this hip hop stuff and the rap music is too there's too much groupthink mentality, there's too much conformity going on where it's all the same, it has to sound the same. You got to treat your women like this, talk about your women like this, spend your money like you said, commands. If
Mhm.
you ain't spending your money like this, you're worthless. If you don't have this much money, you're worthless. If you don't have this much money, you can't get this kind of girl, and so you're
Right.
worthless. It's
Right.
all about what you aren't doing that speaks to your worthlessness with a
Mhm.
lot of this music. And the irony is that it's always been dubbed as motivational, but I don't find it motivational. I find it largely to be disconcerting.
Mhm.
And in many ways, it's like it's chastising you. You're
Yes.
not rich, so you suck. You don't have this
Yes.
many women, so you suck. That's
Right.
what it is. And so anything that deviates from listening to content like that, to me, makes the world a better place. And so him contributing in that regard, I
Yes.
couldn't have asked for anything more. So people need to hear it. But you know how this community can get very hive-like mentality, very centralized, don't want to open themselves up to new ideas and concepts. And so maybe him and his name can help thwart that. And so
Hope
that
so.
is my optimism coming through with that. But
Mhm.
you know, hopefully it works, man. I'm about 3 songs in. I plan on listening to the whole thing personally.
Mhm.
But hopefully more people come along board because it's certainly something that's needed. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Andre. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good job, man. Love it.
Yeah.